Next, I guess the next logical thing, since we were talking about manga, is the anime. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, talking about Fairy Tail, Naruto, One Piece weekly episodes is just gonna come
yeah,
naturally after
yeah.
talking about manga. So, I think I'm gonna start with the Naruto episode, since that came out first, and the episode in question is called the new three-way deadlock,
Oh boy.
and and it's basically what happens is, you know, at the end of last week's episode, Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto used their summoning jutsu and got their people. Naruto got a fully grown up Gamakichi. Sasuke summoned a Oada,
Aota.
and Aota, and Sakura got
Uh-huh.
Katsui. And basically they started doing their thing. She broke up Katsuya, you to heal the people. Naruto jumped over the army with Kamakichi, while Sasuke just blew right
Right.
through them. And then they combined their techniques to do an attack against the
Oh,
Ten
so
Tails.
they did the Kagutsuchi in that one. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Then they switch over to Orochimaru, who's with Karin and Sugetsu, who go over to the desolate remains of the battlefield between the Madara Kage fight, where Tsunade is trying to use cuts to heal, try to reattach her two halves of her body, but doesn't seem to be doing and heal the other Kage. But she can't be doing. She's too weak to be doing much, and this also was a lot of people were complaining about is in this week obviously because she's so weak, she was shown in her old form, what she actually should look like if she's not using her technique.
Right.
So then, reluctantly, Sugetsu and Karin help Tsunade recover, and of course Tsunade's like, well, why the hell are you helping me, saving my life, Orochimaru? And then Orochimaru does some, BS flashback about, the three-way deadlock they had one time between him, Tsunade, and Jiraiya, and saying, what if Jiraiya would have changed before he died or
Uh
something
huh.
like that? And, because Orochimaru changed after he died, and then came back. And then after all that, Orochimaru, Sugetsu, and Karin leave Tsunade behind so she can heal the Kage, and they go off to join the main
Oh.
battle. That's pretty much what happened. I mean, it was an alright episode, but, so.
Okay. So in terms of filler, because as you guys have probably surmised by now, I haven't watched the episode. So in terms of filler, I would say, was it there just an added flashback into like Orochimaru's thing?
I, I believe so, because, with the whole thing with that whole, that's one thing about when anime gets close to the manga, and then they, being someone who watches the weekly episodes and then reads, it's sometimes when stuff comes up, sometimes you don't remember. You're like, wait a minute, I'm trying to remember. Like, it's hard to remember what's filler and
Okay,
what's
I could
not.
tell you, but yeah.
Sometimes, but in terms of uh the flashback, it's probably
Is
filler,
there like how long is the
just
flashback?
because I don't remember.
Because literally, like in the manga, all he does is say, you know, I changed. I lived long enough to change, and Jiraiya died before he could. That was it. Like, and they just showed like a picture of Jiraiya in the background. That's it.
It was
Okay.
more than that. So, it wasn't too long, but the fact that there was more, so that's just automatic. Yeah. Alright. So overall, it was okay. I'm, but also as a manga reader, knowing what's to come, it's like, yay and boo, because we're going to be getting into that whole Obito
Don't spoil it.
bullshit, bullshit we're gonna get into, because according to the schedule, next week is episode title is Kakashi versus
Right.
Obito.
Just don't try not to. Since we're on the anime section.
Well, no, I mean that's the name of the next. That's the name of the next
I know.
episode.
I'm just saying we don't want to spoil
know.
it too much for anime only watchers. Yeah.
All right. Next in order, so I'm just gonna go in the order of the release, and that was Fairy Tales episode. Basically, it started out with showcasing the other stuff that happened. You know, because in last week's episode, in the previous episode, we saw it ended with Gray's death, and then they wanted to show you. So this week's episode, they started off with showing bad things happening to the other characters, all the other characters. You know, and everyone's seemingly either dead or dying or on the verge of death, and in just overall bad situations. And then the whole big, at least most likely, super longly extended scene of. I can't really. I'm blanking on her name. Oh, sorry, Utier's, you know, big debate on whether or not to use the spell to turn back time at the sacrifice of her own life. And then she activates it finally, and then she's like, after all this pain and suffering I went through to activate the spell, I only got 1 minute. Am I that bad of a person? And then the last part of the episode basically showcases that everyone's basically changing the outcome of the battles because they saw the prevision of the time, because they still remember the time, that 1 minute
Right.
that was supposed to happen. So it, as a third party viewer, you now realize that even though she only got 1 minute out of it, it did so much more than she could possibly have thought of at the time that she activated it. It basically turns the tide of the entire battle.
Right.
And it ends off with Lucy finally getting back to Eclipse and telling them that in future Lucy's notes, it says that if they destroy Eclipse, it will cease to exist in all time. So thus, and they theorize that if they do this, the one in the future will be destroyed, so future Rogue would have never had the chance to come back and cause all this trouble. So it was okay. It was not as good as last week's episode, because last week's episode was a lot more emotional, especially since it was leading up to the Gray's death. But it was still a decent. It was still pretty good. So I would say it was a good episode.
Okay. Cool.
Finally, the final weekly anime episodes I watch is One Piece. Now, the episode title was called "A Horrible Past: The Secret of Dressrosa," and to simply put it, it began the flashback of us finding out what happened the night Doflamingo came to take over the country.
Oh.
And so basically not much, it's very simple explanation. It basically is this. You saw how the country used to be with King Riku, and how it was poor, but everyone was happy. Then Doflamingo shows up and he's like, okay, either you hand over the country, if you don't want me to take over this country, you gotta give me 10 billion berries. And in order to get, since your country is so poor, the only way you can get it is by collecting all the money from your citizens. Which is basically a trap, because as soon as he starts doing it, and it looks like they're going to get enough, because the people trust King Riku, he uses his string powers to control not only him, but the soldiers, and attack and slay innocent civilians. So, Doflamingo is just incredibly awesome badass. He basically, I mean, the flashback's not over because it's going to continue in the next episode. But this flashback says one thing. He did try to do the same thing that Crocodile did, which was take over a country. And unlike Crocodile, Doflamingo was successful. And as you know, in present time, he is the king of Dressrosa.
Well, it looks like that episode actually had pretty good progression.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Now, there's a second part to this, but before there was two things in the One Piece anime I have to talk about. This week's episode and the special that came out over the weekend. The episode overall, I would have to say it was okay. It was better. Okay, I would have to give it an okay plus. Yes, I'm stealing that from King of Lightning, but I mean it's better than okay, but it's not. I wouldn't call it a good because it's still, has its
Are you
issues.
talking about 3D2I?
Did you
not
see
yet,
that?
no.
All right. Well, I'm going to briefly talk about it, and basically, and obviously for those of you who haven't seen it yet, especially you, Strider, I'm going to try and keep it spoiler free, because it's intended that this is canon.
Oh.
Because it's intended because it happens in the time skip, and nothing suggests that there's nothing as of this point yet that Oda's written in the manga that could contradict it. So basically, the outline of what's the plot is basically this: is this character Brundy World escaped with all the other mysterious escapees of level 6 of Impel Down, and is basically seeking revenge. And revenge on basically everyone, because mainly the Navy and the world government, because obviously being a pirate, he was at some point in the past taken down by them. Now there's other underlying issues with that, but we'll save that for that I would file that under spoilers.
Right.
So now in terms of the training that we saw, I mean, it wasn't as much training as we all thought it was going to be. We thought we were going to see a lot more, but we only saw the training. The only training that we saw, or the main form of hockey that was being trained that we saw, was the observation hockey. And the reason for that was because it ended up being the main focal point behind Luffy overcoming Brundy World. Kind of like how he was having trouble figuring it out, and then it clicked for him just in time to defeat the bad guy. Now, there's other factors involved with him defeating him, but that was, I guess, the main point of this was that. Now, unfortunately, we did not see any of the other Straw Hats training like we hoped we would. Now, I know one of the other issues that people had was they were worried that it was rumored that the plot was going to be that Brundy World was going to be capturing warlords, and that everyone was like, there's no way he's going to capture Doflamingo or any of that. But in actuality, in order to get close to Marineford, his plan was to capture Boa Hancock simply because she was the closest. Hence, why Luffy gets involved.
Okay.
Now, it was Buggy was in this as a warlord, and he was hilarious doing his thing. And honestly, it was good. It was as a whole it was very good special, the best special to date. It showcased a lot of stuff, and the main reason why it can easily be, and it is supposed to be canon, is because it is, first of all, Buggy takes credit for defeating Grundy World, even though it was Luffy. But also, as far as the Navy knows, Luffy was never there,
Hmm.
which coincides with the whole idea that hadn't heard anything what they said in the manga when he came back at Shabby Archipelago after the time skip, and them saying, "Oh, well, we haven't heard from him since Marineford."
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Now, um, I didn't remember this when they were talking about it prior, leading up to it, but apparently it was people were led to believe that there was going to be a big reveal of a character at the end. I mean, there was, but I don't remember them saying that beforehand, that there was supposed to be a big reveal of a character at the end. Now, at this point, I would say you should put up a spoiler banner, just in case people who haven't seen it yet don't want to hear it.
It will be there.
The character, and the reason why you can hear it is because you already know this character is back. They show Sabo putting the 3 sake cups at the grave.
Oh, cool.
So since we're only like maybe which I believe within 5 or 6 episodes, maybe even less, of Sabo's teased appearance in the anime, since that's going to be animated within probably by the end of September, it's going to be that episode where he gets teased in. You know from that one chapter, you remember? Since that's most likely going to happen by the end of September, I guess they wanted to show him, and they did, and he looks so awesome. But unfortunately, since his face doesn't technically get revealed until a chapter that came out in this year, as opposed to when he was teased back in December of last year, his face is shadowed out, so you don't get to see his epic scar. But he's wearing the same outfit, the exact same outfit that he was as a kid, all grown up, and grown up size. He was awesome. So, definitely the best special ever, and honestly, like, it was. Now, I forget. I believe it was for Neverworld that said this. He said, and I quote, "This special showcases everything that people love about One Piece. And if you've been feeling kind of iffy about how the pacing of the show has been going and the stuff and how everything has been going on in the manga recently, if you've been kind of off, you should watch this and fall back in love with One Piece again. Because apparently he says it's that good that it makes you remember everything you like about One Piece."
Okay, that's cool. Alright, so in this section, just like in the manga section, I'm going to be solo again. These are anime episodes that only I watch and would be spoilers to Don. So, let's jump right into it. I'm going to start with Hunter x Hunter, and I believe we're looking at episode 145. At the time of this recording, it's I've seen 145, so I'm gonna start with that because that's the freshest. So, simply put, Aluka, or rather something, saves Gon by the command instead of a wish, and she does. You know, there's a huge power up from that that command, and it can be felt all the way while the election's going on. But just before that, Killua sees sees like how bad Gon's arms are, just realizing how badly he hurt himself, and it gets him emotional, and I understand that. I really do. I think Killua is genuinely concerned for Gon because, he's the one friend he's ever had, really. Granted, he's technically friends with Palm and the octopus guy. His name starts with an I. I can't remember his name, but Gon is his real, true, solid best friend, and he genuinely just wants to protect him, just like he wants to protect Aluka. And so that's it for that part. It's simple because Gon gets healed. So back at the election, prior to this, Cheetle is doing her best to try to kind of sabotage Pariston as much as possible because, nobody from the Zodiacs really want Pariston to win because he's shady and stuff like that. But ultimately, it seems like Leorio is going to take it. And after taking a first place vote, but not having quite enough votes, so they have to redo it. But Gon being healed and seeing and feeling that power change the tide, Pariston knew exactly what was going to happen, and so he buys time with the seeking to reform the hunter exams, things like that. It bought enough time for Morel to bring Gon and Leorio, or not Leorio, Gon and Killua. Oh wait, no. So Morel brings Gon and starts sobbing with his thumb up. I loved it. And we see, Gon and Leorio have a very touching reunion. It was cool. And of course, we find out that Pariston had planned pretty much all of this from the time that Jing had said that Gon's not gonna die. And to me, it seems like a very far-fetched prediction that all this would happen similar, like, to what actually happened. It seems kind of far-fetched, but it happened. So, in my opinion, it's not so much that Pariston is so ridiculously smart as it is he's got such a wild imagination that it was crazy enough to be correct. You know what I mean? It's weird, but anyway, so it looks like the tide has turned, and so Gon's okay, and it looks like the tide has turned, and Leorio seems to not have any more reason to be in this election. And finally, it ends by Gon saying Jing, and the episode ends there where he just says his name, and Jing is like, oh shit, it was bound to happen anyway, but crap. And to me, being a manga reader and knowing and have seen the scene in the manga, I knew this was coming, but it's still weird that he sees Jing in this fashion after he spent so much time trying to hunt him instead of trying to just find him casually like that. Jing was supposed to sense his aura and run. It was hyped up to be like this huge chase where Gon was going to have to become a good enough hunter to be able to find Jing. But he finds him like this. So it threw me off when I first saw it, but when I read it for the first time, I laughed. I did, because it was funny how Gon accidentally achieved his primetime goal as a hunter. So, anime only watchers, what you need to ask yourself is, now what? Now what? Because the anime may be ending at episode 148, but guess what, guys? The manga's not over. It's still going. Togashi, he might be playing Dragon Quest a lot and getting sick or whatever combination of the two. But he's still putting out chapters, and we're in a new arc. So you have to ask yourself, what now? If you're not prepared to read ahead when this anime does end in a couple weeks. For temporarily, of course. It's obviously going to come back. There's just no doubt. And that's all I'm willing to say, because I respect spoilers. I really do. I hate when people just ramble off spoilers. I dislike it in general. I think it's a douchey move. I'm sorry. So that's it for Hunter x Hunter. We're going into, I guess we'll go into Akame ga Kiru next. Also known as Akame ga Kill. But, I've been hearing it as Akame ga Kiru for so long that that's just what it resonates in my head as. So, just know that I'm talking about Akame ga Kill. It's the same thing. So, this is another anime that I've also caught up with the manga. So, this is not something new for me. And when that comes, once a month, I'll review that on this podcast as well, in the manga. So jumping into the episode, Brat has just died, or Bulat. I'll try to say the anime names for here. Bulat has just died. And everyone's shocked, except a couple of us who predicted it would happen, including myself. And not to go back to King of Lightning a lot, but he also predicted it. And to me, that's a problem. If you can predict deaths, then you're not doing it right. Unfortunately, and I know a lot of people praise this series for its shock value. Oh, it's got a lot of shock value. Oh my goodness, everybody's dying and it's awesome. Well, let me tell you something. If death becomes predictable, where's the shock value in that? It's actually just a predictable mess, if that's the case. Unfortunately, this is what the series does. It builds up its characters, but not enough, and it kills them off long before they're ready to die, because, and I'm not saying like mentally ready to die, I mean ready to die in the context of as a character. I don't think Bulat was ready, because he was still developing. He still had much to help Tatsumi develop. And I think it was too quick. It was too quick. I'll give credit. I think Shaylei's death was much better. Though a lot of people were criticizing Shaylei's death a little bit more because of the fact that, she let Seiryu do what she did to her. And to that extent, I'll, concede that point. But I think that the death itself was much better done than what happened to Bulat. Because Shaylei, her usefulness, in a sense, there was one thing. And while her character had not been finished developing, it was a true shock value because it was the first one. But continuing that tradition is not acceptable in my opinion. But moving on. So everybody is working hard, especially the guys. The guys are working hard to compensate for his death. Especially even Lubbock or Robic, however you pronounce it, Lubbock, as the anime, subs pronounce it, I guess. So even Lubbock, who is supposed to be, a lazy guy, is training, and so it hit them hard. It seems, and of course it hit them hard because he was a total bro. And I have to, quickly again going back to Bulat. I praise his character because his orientation didn't define him. It only it was a side thing. It didn't matter about it. Granted, we had a funny running gag from him as a result of his orientation. The whole, getting weird with Tatsumi, that was funny. I thought it was genuinely funny. And but it didn't define him as a character. It didn't matter much, because what really mattered was his tenacity and his charisma, which he was very manly character. I love it. I like it when they don't focus so much on the orientation itself, whereas it's just a side thing, because that's all it should be. It's really all it should be. But unfortunately, the media has to overblow it. So, getting off track again. So anyway, they're training, and the majority of the episode focuses on actually Esteth or Estes. She starts the group called the Jaegers, and that is Seiryu. We have Kurome. We have Wave, Bulls or Boars. I can't remember the blonde-haired dude's name. I can never remember the blonde-haired dude's name. And I think that was it, right? And Esteth herself. And she comes in and attacks them until Kurome knocks off her mask, and they're all shocked. And I always liked the Jaegers. I thought I don't like Seiryu, but I didn't care so much for Boars or Bulls. I thought he was fine, but nothing like too amazing. I like Wave. I like Wave better than Tatsumi. Like, Wave is supposed to be like a sort of antithesis to Tatsumi, whereas he's on the Jaegers and Tatsumi's on Night Raid, but they have similar personality. But I think Wave is done slightly better. But like, Esteth is my favorite character though of the series. And Kurome is okay, whatever. And the blonde-haired dude, whose name I can't remember for the life of me, I'm neutral towards as well. So the Jaegers get introduced with each other and Esteth. They talk about shit. And then Esteth has the tournament set up for her to meet the person that she loves, or the person she wants to fall in love with, rather. And as most of us probably predicted, it's Tatsumi. One of my favorite plot points in this particular arc, I guess you could say, is the fact that the most powerful and the most evil girl is in love with the main character. Oh my goodness, I love it. That's one of the best things about this whole thing, was her thing with Tatsumi. So Tatsumi takes down this fodder character in a badass fashion. And as Death immediately chains him up and takes him away. It's great. And, Night Raid takes it the wrong way. They think that, perhaps they found out that Tatsumi was part of Night Raid and he's been captured and is going to be tortured and stuff like that. So that's basically the episode. It's my memory. Overall thoughts. I liked it. I liked the episode. I know I did a lot of ranting in the beginning about the formula that Akame ga Kuru follows, but that had no impact on the episode itself because Bulat died the episode before, and pretty much all good stuff in this episode. Pretty much all good stuff in this episode. So I liked it. And so our final episode of the day is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders. So in Stardust Crusaders, we have Polnareff, who just got his sister and Avdol revived, but they're not revived in the way that he wants. They're these sort of dolls, as you will. They're like evil and corrupted and reminding me of like Full Metal Alchemist, how with the fake Philosopher's Stone they could bring people back, but in like this corrupted fashion, and it really wasn't them. Similar to that, it really wasn't Polnareff's sister and Avdol, as we know after watching this episode. So he finally starts using Chariot, and but the stand is pretty strong. He's fast. He knows what he's doing and beats the crap out of Polnareff. And just before the fake Avdol kills Polnareff, the real one comes along and beats the crap out of him. Revealing that Avdol is actually alive. Now, I don't read the manga, so I didn't know about this. But it seemed like a cop-out to me, because I thought it was strong that Avdol died. But the fact that he's actually alive is kind of... I mean, I'm neutral, because I like the fact that he's back in such a fashion, but I'm not sure how to feel about it, really. So, anyway, Polnareff and Avdol, they combine their forces and they do enough to the stand that it goes away, and they look around for the stand user, because if he's that powerful, the user has to be nearby. That's a rule of thumb that Avdol, I believe, was the one who said that initially, and he's the one that's bringing it back up again to Polnareff. But his personality seems sort of different now. He seems more laid back and more definitely more amiable. And I definitely like this Avdol more. So they find the hole with the bamboo shooting out of it, and this straight up reminds me of Dragon Ball, because oh my gosh, because with the hot water going down the bamboo chute, that was wonderful. That was one of the funniest things in Dragon Ball. And so they piss down it. They shove a whole bunch of crap down it, and he comes up and yeah, he's fucked. So the episode ends with Polnareff being, so excited and showing everybody, oh look, Avdol's alive, and everybody kind of knew. And Joseph, he says, when I said I buried him, I lied. And it makes sense why they lied to Polnareff, because dude really can't keep his mouth shut. And yeah, so they all knew, and Polnareff now is happy as shit that he's alive, but now he's pissed off that nobody told him. So that's the episode, really, in a nutshell. It's pretty simple, nothing too complex happening, just a big reveal. I mean, I liked the episode. I thought it was cool. I generally like the JoJo episodes. I I really enjoy Stardust Crusaders. I am genuinely enjoying this reboot of JoJo. I'm pretty new to the series, so when I first watched part one and part two, like the 2012 anime, my first time really watching it, and now going through Stardust Crusaders for the first time, and it's definitely been an enjoyable ride. I know the anime is going to take a break after 25, and then I believe go for another 25. That's how I understand it. So anyway, good episode. So that's probably going to end it for our anime section.